What's up guys, my name is Jake Towell and welcome back. Today is episode 30 of my art series where I share with you guys some pieces throughout my art career, and today I'm presenting you guys a top 5, top 3 even, most favorite pieces I've ever created. I'm super amped to be sharing this piece with you guys today. There's so many wonderful and amazing details within this piece, and like I said, I couldn't be more happy to be sharing with you guys this episode today. This absolutely sick piece is called Cranium Combustion. This is actually a portrait illustration, and I'll get down to explaining that further in the fully rendered image, so make sure you stay tuned for the end of the video where we break down the entire piece in its full rendition. But without further ado, let's get right into that sketch phase. Okay, super hectic sketch. Looks so sick though. Most times, obviously, the sketch phase is just something you throw at the wall and try to figure out and articulate your idea. But this sketch looks so sick. Honestly, everything about this piece, the whole idea, everything that I illustrated within it, like I said, one of my favorites. So from sketch to line to full render, I just love every bit of it. And the sketch phase, pretty solid. It looks like I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I had everything mapped out. You can tell once I had my concept flowing, I really enjoyed doing this, so everything looks very solid. But nothing will look more solid than the line work phase. I'm really hyped for you guys to see the line work. It looks so sick. So let's get right into the line work. Holy, look at that line work. Filling the entire composition, looks super sick, super clean. I'm just gonna be glazing, gassing up, whatever you want to call it, this piece throughout this entire video. I think this thing is absolutely sick. The line work itself could be a piece in and of its own. It looks so dope. I love every inch of it. You can tell I knew exactly what I wanted to do. Everything's spaced out perfectly, in my opinion, of course. And overall, this line work, I couldn't be any more proud. At this point in my career, I really was honing in on my style and stylistic techniques, and as you can see, it just came out wonderfully. So for what I'm most excited to be presenting you guys today, the fully rendered image. Let's get right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Cranium Combustion. Check out all those insanely sick details and wonderful colors. And like I said, this is actually a portrait, and I'll be explaining that here in a second. Overall, this piece as a whole composition is something I absolutely love, and I have this thing in lamination, small prints, large prints, poster size prints, and I couldn't be any more happy with the end result of this one. There's so many sick elements and techniques and brushes beyond what I usually use within this piece as well. So without further ado, let's get right into the breakdown here. So like I said, this is actually a portrait, and in this portrait, it's a guy's head being ripped apart from left to right. So as you can see in the center of the composition, we have this yellow skull with really cool brown, rusty, rotten teeth here. And in this skull, we have two eyeballs and a lot of stuff going on within it. Lots of loops and chains and rings. You can see I have two variations of ring color. I have green and I have yellow, and that follows the same ring colors at the bottom of the composition, but we'll get to that in a second. But as you can see, the actual skull of the portrait in the middle of the composition here, and it looks super crazy. I mean, look at this skull's anatomy. Super crazy bone structure. We got his nose and eyeball section here, and actually on the forehead of the skull is another mouth, and there you can see an actual torch or flame in the center of the skull inside this mouth structure on his forehead, and it looks super cool and is a really nice focal point into this composition. As you can also see, coming out of that mouth is a tongue going up to the top, and there you see like a halo over the top of his head, which is a really cool concept, and it also furthers the idea that this is a portrait, a person, as well as a dead portrait person. Having that really spiky halo up top being hooked on by those rings is really sick. I say really a lot. That time I got 3 reallys because it really is that sick. More things going on within that skull. We have those eyeballs going out of the eye holes. They're really small in relation to the dude's actual head, but they're wrapping around and in and out and around and in and out through those really cool looking rings. Moving out from the skull, we have to the left here, we have his brain. You can see his brain kind of sagging out to the left side of the skull, which is really sick. And going through that brain, if you couldn't tell, are these really cool purple horns. These like devilish horns. You can see it a little bit more on the right side. You can see it curling all the way around and hooking around into the right side of his fleshy head and left side of his fleshy head, which looks super sick. But yeah, I also really love that I went for a purple here when it comes to the horns. I could have went with this yellowish bone color or this rusty red bone color, but I think the purple really brings the composition more color and makes it pop a lot more. And as you can see, I also gave him this like spiky beard to kind of replicate those purple horns at the top coming out of his jaw there, and that just looks really sick too, coming out of the bottom of his skull. So as you can see, this horn's doing a lot of damage, bleeding out into this mouth area. And as you can see, there's 2 mouth areas on each side of the composition, and that's actually where his head splits open into 2 pieces, as you can see, left and right. And what's really cool about these pieces is on the left side we have really triangular sharp angle eyeballs there with sharp teeth, and on the right we have very round shapes there with round teeth, kind of just giving it a little bit more visual interest, not keeping things too symmetrical and the same on each side of the composition. And I think that just furthered the details as well as making this composition and illustration super detailed filled and really cool. Clinging on to the top of this head split, we have this really funny looking, I don't know what my idea was behind this guy, but he's like a meatball with a bunch of veins. And as you can see, those veins are hooking in and around and also going into the smoke monster. I really like how I layered the veins here, which is pretty funny. Got a little mouth there. He's got round and sharp teeth to tell that he is actually a part of this guy. Maybe he's a growth on his head, who knows, but he's got a lot of veins, really funny looking eyeballs, both the same color. You can see on the triangular head there's green eyes, on the round one there's blue. So he kind of carries both of those characteristics, and it's honestly just a really funny added detail within this piece that again just furthers the detail and makes it really sick. He's being hooked on right there by another loop. His veins are going down through the eyeball, bleeding down to the other eyeball, which is really cool. And it doesn't seem like I mentioned the smoke. If you've seen past videos already, you know I draw a lot of smoke, and I put up smoke in a lot of my illustrations as it fills the composition as well as adds a really nice color to the overall look. So here I have smoke also coming out of the top of the skull where that mouth is, going up and around that halo. You can see that Meatball's veins are going over on top of the halo as well, bleeding down into the skull by those really cool loops. To the right side of the composition, in the right cranium split, we have this really dope, intricate looking spear. I'm really pleased with how this spear looks. It looks very alien, very crazy, and honestly super detailed and really well thought out. I love the spikes. I love the jagged edges, and it just builds such a really cool shape in the composition. It busted out of the top of the head there, and it came through the horns of the middle of the skull, and you can see the bottom of the spike there broken off, going up through the horns and busting out the top. A lot of blood like the other side going down the face here and also splitting through that eyeball, mirroring the composition with this split eyeball over here. And I really just love the top half of this composition. There's so many things going on within it, and now that I explained it, you can see that I really put a lot of thought and detail into this piece, and I just couldn't be any more proud. Now the bottom half is also something that I really love, and I think just brings it all together and helps with the portrait idea. So at the bottom, if you can tell, there's this purplish gray color at the bottom, and it's actually a sweater. So you can see that the head is nested around this neck sweater here, and that kind of houses the central illustration in the composition. Coming out of the collar of this sweater is 2 flame elements. We have a blue flame mirroring the eyes over here and a green flame mirroring the eyes over here, and you can see that flame color is actually glowing onto the shadow of the composition on each side, which just adds more visual pop and looks super sick. I feel like I did a really good job bringing your eye all the way around the composition, as this is like very line colored flame, very bright, and it can really pull your eye. But I think I added so many different colors and so many different solid elements around this composition that it doesn't take too much away from everything else and really brings your eye around. But I really love how I articulated these flames and how the glow goes into the faces up top and into the sweater on the bottom, and it just overall looks super sick. The last element I'll be showing you guys is this really cool chain, and the chain you can see loops all the way around the body on the left and the right side, and it goes up from behind him into his sweater around. You can see it cut him up pretty bad right there in the sweater, down in the composition, and actually hooks into the bottom of the skull jaw, and what looks super sick. And again, I'm using that green and yellow chain style, which I haven't up until now ever articulated, having 2 different loop colorations. And as you can see on the right side, it's kind of doing the same, looping up and around, not going into the sweater, but also looping into the bottom of the jaw. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is Cranium Combustion. Super, super proud of this piece. Extremely excited to be sharing this piece with you guys. I really, really hope you enjoyed this breakdown and enjoyed this piece. If you want prints of this piece, of course, I have tons of prints on this piece. In the description down below is my in-print store. Get posters, get small prints, this piece, and many other prints that I have talked about and I haven't talked about yet in the description down below. Of course, if you guys enjoyed this video, enjoy my art, please consider leaving a like. It really helps me out. Leave a comment down below what your favorite aspect of this piece was. And of course, if you guys could subscribe, I would really appreciate it. Thanks again if you've made it this far. I really appreciate you guys checking out my channel, checking out my art, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.